Welcome to the August 4th, 2020 regular meeting of the Gary Common Council. As is our custom, we'll begin our meeting with a word of prayer. Local attorney Shalise Tolbert is going to offer our prayer this evening. Attorney Tolbert.
Thank you, President Godwin. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Thank you for allowing me this opportunity. If you would all join me in a moment of prayer. Lord, we thank you for allowing us to gather to conduct the business of this city, Lord, and to conduct things in a manner that is fitting to you, Heavenly Father. We thank you for covering us. We thank you for allowing us to have wisdom and discernment, Lord, in making the decisions that will be the best for the citizens and for this city, Lord. And we thank you for allowing us to just continue to follow your word and continue to do things in your order and your will, Heavenly Father. As we continue to go through this pandemic, Lord, we know that you will continue to cover us and keep us safe from harm, Heavenly Father. And we ask that you just continue to guide us and keep your hands around us in the city of Gary. And it is your son's name that we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Attorney Tolbert. This time we will have our Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. So we have minutes from the previous two meetings, both July 21st as well as July 7th. We'll start with July 7th, 2020 meeting minutes. I trust that everyone has those, has received those. Is there a motion to approve the July 7th, 2020 meeting minutes of the Gary Common Council?
President, roll call.
Oh, I'm sorry. I went right into the minutes. I believe everyone is here now. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Atkins.
Here.
Councilman Brewer.
Here.
Councilwoman Brown.
Present.
Councilwoman Caldwell.
Here.
Councilman Godwin.
Present.
Councilman Lay.
Here.
Councilman Weatherspoon.
Here.
Councilman Weatherspoon.
Here.
Councilman Williams. Councilman Williams.
Gosh.
Here.
Councilman Williams.
He's there now.
Oh,
I think he's muted. Yeah.
He is.
President Godwin.
Present.
I'm sorry, President Brown. Mr. President, there are 8 present, 1 absent.
With 8 members present and 1 absent, we have a quorum to conduct the business of the Gary Common Council. Thank you, Madam Clerk. At this point, we have before us the July 7th, 2020 meeting minutes. Is there a motion to approve said minutes?
So moved, Mr. President.
It's been moved by Councilman Brewer. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
It's been seconded by Council members Brown and Weatherspoon. Any questions or discussion? Seeing and hearing none, roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Atkins.
Yes.
Councilman Brewer.
Yes.
Councilwoman Brown.
Yes.
Councilwoman Caldwell.
Yes.
Councilman Lay.
Yes.
Councilman Weatherspoon.
Yes.
Councilman Williams.
Yes.
And President Godwin.
Yes.
Mr. President, the vote is 8-0.
With a vote of 8-0, the minutes of our July 7th, 2020 meeting are approved. Members, you also have before you the minutes of our July 21st, 2020 meeting. Is there a motion to approve said minutes?
So moved, Mr. President.
It's been moved by Councilman Brewer. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been seconded by Councilwoman Atkins. Is there any question or discussion?
Mr. President, these don't have no amendment that needs to be made to these. Is it the thing that come above?
Madam Clerk, this is the amended version, correct? I know there were some corrections that were made.
Yes, some typographical corrections.
And
Yes,
so the version that we have, has it been corrected?
yes.
Okay. Any other questions or discussion? Seeing and hearing none, roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Atkins,
Yes.
Councilman Brewer,
Yes.
Councilwoman Brown,
Yes.
Councilwoman Caldwell,
Yes.
Councilman Lay,
Yes.
Councilman Weatherspoon,
Yes.
Councilman Williams,
Yes.
and President Godwin.
Yes.
Mr. President, vote is 8-0.
With a vote of 8-0, meeting minutes of our July 21, 2020 meeting are approved. At this point, we'll have our assignment of council pending ordinances and resolutions on first reading.
CPO 2020-41, an ordinance amending Chapter 123 entitled Zoning Code of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Gary, Indiana. Petitioner Spectacle Entertainment LLC, Monument Circle, Suite 777, Indianapolis, Indiana. Property at 29th and Jerry Street, Gary, Indiana.
Planning and Development.
CPO 2020-42, an ordinance amending Chapter 123 entitled Zoning Code of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Gary, Indiana. Petitioner Spectacle Entertainment LLC, 111 Monument Circle, Suite 777, Indianapolis, Indiana. Property at 29th and Jerry Street, Gary, Indiana.
Planning and Development.
CPR 2020-10, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of Gary, Indiana, acknowledging the life and contributions of Representative John Lewis, sponsored by Kai Atkins, Councilwoman of the 4th District.
Arts and Culture.
Mr. President, ends assignment of pending ordinances and resolutions.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Councilwoman Barnes Caldwell,
Yes.
I think you're going to suspend the rules to add a confirmatory resolution.
Yes, sir. I would like to suspend the rules and add what you just said to the agenda.
All right. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded by Councilwoman Brown.
Question.
Councilman Lay is
It has
recognized.
to have a number. What's the number on this ordinance or resolution?
That was emailed to us. Councilwoman Barnes Caldwell, do you have that in your possession?
Attorney Poe, do you
Yes.
have a number for this?
Yes, it is CPR 2020-11.
-11, CPR. Okay,
Thank you, Councilwoman.
thank you.
Mr. President,
Councilwoman Atkins.
I would also like to make a motion to suspend the rules and consider CPR 2020-10 on third and final.
I think we need to do this first.
Right.
Have the vote on it.
No, we need to finish CPR 2020-11. And I think when we get to third and final
Final.
is
Right.
when we can suspend the rules to do that, but it has to go through the regular.
Okay,
Right.
Mr. President,
Councilman Brewer?
it would be on second reading that she could suspend the rules on second reading. And go
Okay.
ahead.
Right.
thank
All
you.
right, no problem. So Councilwoman Barnes Caldwell moved for CPR 2020-11 to be added to our agenda. I'm not sure who seconded the motion.
I'll second it.
Okay.
Council members Brown and Atkins have seconded that motion. Any questions or discussion? Seeing and hearing none, roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Atkins,
Yes.
Councilman Brewer,
Yes.
Councilwoman Brown,
Yes.
Councilwoman Caldwell,
Yes.
Councilman Lay,
Yes.
Councilman Weatherspoon,
Yes.
Councilman Williams,
Yes.
Councilman Williams,
Yes.
and President Godwin.
Yes.
Mr. President, the vote is 8-0.
With a vote of 8-0, CPR 2020-11 is added to our agenda on first reading, and it will be assigned to Planning and Development.
Mr. President,
Councilman Brewer?
At this time, Planning Development has before CPO 2020-41. I approve for this to be reported out. Councilwoman Atkins,
Yes.
Councilman Witherspoon.
Yes.
A majority of the Planning Development Committee has approved CPO 2020-41 to be reported out on first reading. Mr. President, the Planning Development has before CPO 2020-42. I approve this to be reported out on first reading. Councilwoman Atkins,
Yes.
Councilman Witherspoon.
Yes.
Mr. President, majority of the Plan Development Committee has approved CPO 2020-42 to be reported out on first reading. Mr. President, the Plan Development Committee has before it CPR 2020-11. I approve for this to be reported out. Councilwoman Atkins,
Yes.
Councilman Witherspoon.
Yes.
Mr. President, majority of the Planning and Development Committee has approved for CPR 2020-11 to be reported out.
Thank you, Councilman Brewer. Councilman Witherspoon.
Yeah, the Arts, History, and Culture Committee has before it CPO 2020-10. For the record, I approve the ordinance for reporting out. Council Lady Barnes, she's on my committee. Council Lady Barnes.
Yes.
Barnes Caldwell. Councilman Williams.
Yes.
Okay, Mr. President, the majority of the committee has approved the ordinance for reporting out for a meeting on August the 11th at 6:30 p.m.
Thank you. Councilman Brewer.
That's CPR, just for the record, that's CPR.
We got CPR 2020.
CPR, I'm sorry.
2020-10.
Right. Yes, I'm sorry. CPR 2020-10, correct.
All right.
And you would give your meeting dates during second reading.
Thank you, Councilman Brewer. Thank you.
All right. Councilman Brewer.
Mr. President, the Plan Development would like to report out CPO 2020-41, 42, and CPR 2020-11.
Thank you. Councilman Witherspoon.
Yeah, Mr. President, the Arts, History, and Culture would like to report out CPR 2020-10.
Thank you. This time we will have our special and select. Any members for special and select?
Mr. President,
Councilwoman Atkins is recognized.
couple of announcements for the 4th District. We do have our upcoming inaugural Summer Bazaar, which will be taking place on Saturday, this upcoming Saturday at 18th and Broadway. We do have about 25 vendors of goods and services who have been confirmed, and approximately 6 to 8 organic farmer market vendors who will be on site as well. Those individuals who are SNAP recipients, or if you are a senior and you receive senior vouchers, we have partnered with Lake County Eat Local so that you are able to utilize those benefits to purchase goods at that particular event. So again, I hope that you all come out and support, especially during the pandemic. Do not come without a mask. We will be masked up, and Councilwoman Atkins will not be playing about enforcing the ordinance that we just approved last meeting. So again, that's from 12 to 4, 18th and Broadway. Also, the 4th District has been moving. We are hosting a groundbreaking ceremony for the improvements that will be taking place at Carolina Park next Tuesday. So we have an amazing donor who will also be getting presented with an award. That will be Tuesday, August the 11th at 4 p.m. at Carolina Park, which is nested in the heart of the 4th District at 1300 Carolina. The starting time for this event is at 4 p.m. So I would like to extend a sincere thanks to Eric Reeves and Mayor Prince, the Reimagine team, for supporting this particular event. And I think it'll be exciting for the district as we move to at least initiate some of our first year priorities. Also just want to give people a reminder about the census. We are still struggling across the city of Gary and especially within the 4th District. 4th District, we are still around 38% in terms of completion rate for that survey. So please make sure that you do your part in helping your city and get that survey submitted. We will have representatives from the U.S. Census Bureau on site on Saturday at the Small Business Summer Bazaar. And we will be hosting a raffle for those who are there to actually complete their survey. We have $50 cards from Starbucks in support of that. So hope to see you guys out. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilwoman Atkins. Other members for special and select?
Mr. President,
Councilman Williams.
I'd like to remind the residents of the 6th District that we have our first community forum Thursday, August 13th at 6 p.m. via Zoom. The contact for that information is 219 for the login, meeting ID and password, 219-881-1315, extension 1.
All right. Thank you, Councilman Williams.
Mr.
Any other?
President,
Councilwoman Barnes Caldwell.
boards and commissions, we did interviews for the Economic Development Commission. And at this time, I would like to make a motion to announce Lisa Islands as our new representative for the Economic Development Commission.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded by Councilman Lay. Any questions or discussion? I will just say that I was on that committee call, and she did a fantastic job. We had great folks to choose from, and so I think that's a great testament to the talent that is in our city. And so I'm excited about this particular nomination.
Mr. President, yes,
Councilman Lay?
I reviewed her resume over the weekend. I didn't know who was going to be recommended. In fact, I spoke with her. She has an extraordinary resume for a person of her age. She really has a good background, and this is absolutely a good appointment by the board and commissions. So I'd like to congratulate Councilwoman Caldwell Barnes on this, Barnes Caldwell, I'm sorry, on her nominating this person.
I agree. I agree. Any other questions or discussion?
I have one more announcement. Please join the 5th District in Dumpster Day. We will.
Councilwoman,
We're going to vote on this one.
Yeah, we need a vote.
Oh, I'm sorry.
All right. So it's been moved and properly seconded. I don't see anyone else for questions or discussion. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
She's muted.
There, she's out there.
Councilwoman Atkins,
Yes.
Councilman Brewer,
yes.
Councilwoman Brown,
Yes.
Councilwoman Caldwell,
Yes.
Councilman Lay,
Yes.
Councilman Weatherspoon,
Yes.
Councilman Williams,
Same.
Councilman Williams.
Can you hear me?
Okay, now I can.
Okay.
What was your vote?
Same.
Abstain?
Yes.
And President Godwin?
Yes.
Mr. President, the vote is 7 yes, 1 abstention.
With 7 yeas and 1 abstention, the named individual has been appointed to the Economic Development Commission. Councilwoman Barnes Caldwell is recognized.
Yes. The 5th District, we're going to wrap the summer up with another dumpster day. The dumpster weekend will be August the 28th through the 31st, and we will be all over the 5th District. We'll have a couple of dumpsters at each site, Ridge Road and Pierce, 34th and Calhoun Street, 21st and Madison, Ridge Road and Taft, 25th in Maryland, and Ridge Road in Virginia. Flyers will go out announcing this, and I need you all to dump responsibly. Please use the dumpster. If it overflows, just let's go to another dumpster. That's more cleanup. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Any other members for special and select?
Mr. President,
Councilman Lay is recognized.
I reviewed Mr. Dwight Pointer's resume. I reviewed at least 150 to 200 resumes in the last 15 years for the Gary Frontiers. His resume is absolutely an outstanding resume. He certainly has a great deal of experience in education. He simply applied for the wrong job. I believe he as an individual would help you do your PAGE program. Take a very close look at it. It's relatively little that I should say Reverend Porter would not bring to such a program. So I don't think we should lose him because we didn't put him on economic development, but that would be a place, and I will probably, not this council meeting, but another council meeting, explain how you could use him and actually do your PAGE program now.
You, council? Yes, sir. Okay.
Thank you, Councilman Lay. Any other members for special and select?
President,
Councilwoman Brown is recognized.
I just want to say I am excited for Councilwoman Atkins and Carolina Park. I grew up over in that area of the city, and we used to call it the Steel Mill Quarters. And we were so excited because that's where we would get together after school. That's where we had our fights. We meet me in the park for the fight. So I'm really excited about that, and I'm happy that you're doing that. I think it's a wonderful thing. And then I wanted to extend my condolences to the family of Ms. Imogene Harris. As many of you know, she was the wife of J.T. Harris, and they published the Info newspaper. And she passed away. One of her daughters, Galen Harris, was my line sister in Delta. And so I want to extend my sincerest condolences to the entire Harris family. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilwoman Brown.
Mr. President,
Councilman Brewer is recognized.
thank you. I want to first send my condolences to the East family, Ms. Pamela East, the owner of the Powell and Coleman Funeral Home, who was generalized this past Saturday, and want to continue to pray for the family and continue to pray for that business as they have lost both mom and dad within a 3 months time span. I want to just keep them lifted up in prayer. But I do want to speak on an issue that continues to rise in the community, where neighborhoods are just being brought down by individuals that pretty much just don't care. In the past 2 weeks, I've received quite a few calls of people complaining about their neighbor just not being good neighbors.
Yes.
With letting backyards just be overgrown, throwing stuff out, some having multiple cars on the lawn, garbage dumpsters overflowing. One even had a bonfire in the middle of the street one night. Something has to give. On 2 occasions in this week and next week, I will be out personally with code enforcement to address some of these issues there. One block we went and we hit at least 8 people on that block with serious offenses, and we're going to continue. What I feel that needs to happen, and the strong message needs to be sent to the residents that continue to break the laws of this city here, that we must continue to show them that we will enforce the laws and that we are serious, and we will not just come back one, but we will come back multiple times if we have to and drag you into court. We must be serious about this thing when we talk about cleaning up our city, making sure the image of our city is brought in a different light than what we have seen in the past. We have one gentleman on 13th Avenue in the Edna area where we have towed numerous cars at least once a year since I've been on the council, and he continues to operate a legal business there. But we must do what we need to do to shut these businesses down and also fine these people. Now, if the fine is too low, that might be something that we might need to look at as a council to make sure we're putting in place that the fines are hefty enough fines where people are getting the strong message that we're serious about our city. I do know one thing we need to look at, and that's with the grass cutting. The grass have to grow a tremendous amount of inches high before they can sight. And we probably need to lower that down a little bit more, because a lot of lawns is people are just not cutting the grass, and it takes a while for the grass to get a certain height to where our ordinance is written. So I want to address that this evening, but I want to send a message to the residents that not being good neighbors inside our community, we will do what we have to do to make sure that they comply and not bring havoc to these different neighborhoods. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilman Brewer.
Mr. President,
Councilwoman Brown.
I agree with Councilman Brewer. A gentleman knocked on my door this afternoon with a problem with his neighbor. I get calls all the time. I'm sure we all do. but he knocked on my door and he said he didn't know where else to go. He had done all that he could. He had a next door neighbor whose grass was, I don't know how tall, who had parked his car in the yard, who was doing all kinds of things. And it's happening all over. I know my district, but it's happening all over the city. And it was one of the things that I had questioned earlier. Is there any way for us to get some of these weeds cut down? I recognize that winter is coming pretty soon, but some of these weeds need to be cut down because they're blocking stop signs. They just need to be cut. And so I don't know what we need to do, where we'll get the money, but it certainly needs to happen. It really, really needs to happen. And I asked the mayor about it several weeks ago, but we've not done anything.
Thank you, Councilwoman Brown. Any other members for special and select? I have a few announcements. I usually like to let everyone else go first. Okay. The Gary Economic Development Corporation wants to announce workforce opportunities beginning this week, the week of August 3rd. Several companies in Northwest Indiana are looking for janitorial services with an hourly rate of $12 an hour. You must have 1 to 3 years of experience with cleaning and sanitizing buildings, surfaces, bathroom areas, etc. Your resume is needed for these positions. This is Edsall Manufacturing Company. Is taking applications at Gary City Hall in the City Council Lounge that's on the second floor every Wednesday during the month of August from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. You must be 18 years of age, have proof of Gary residency, have reliable transportation and telephone number, able to pass random drug screenings, able to communicate verbally, able to work consistently from 7 a.m. to 3:30 p.m., standing, bending, and lifting in warehouse environment in both summer and winter, and you will complete an I-9 form. Again, that is every Wednesday, second floor of City Hall, the City Council Lounge from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Jobs available with Edsall Manufacturing. Secondly, Beyond Four Walls Christian Center, which is in my district, in the Etna section at 875 South Lake Street, will be having their weekly food giveaway. I want to thank Council members Brewer and Barnes, Caldwell, and Brown, who were there this past Thursday to help support that initiative. It will start at 11 a.m., but I would suggest getting there by 10:30 a.m. The line tends to start pretty early, and that is at 875 South Lake Street. At Beyond Four Walls Christian Center, the fruit and vegetable boxes that they are giving out to the community. Lastly, I wanted to note that I'm having a special chat this Thursday at 6:00 p.m. Via Zoom with a First District resident, longtime Gary Community School Corporation teacher and community social worker, Elaine Spicer. We will be talking about existing peacefully and dealing with trauma and loneliness and other social issues in the COVID-19 pandemic. That will be this Thursday at 6:00 p.m. You can call in at 312-626-6799. Again, it's trauma and self-care during COVID-19 with licensed clinical social worker Elaine Spicer of the First District, and of course the whole city is welcome to Zoom in and participate in that hopefully healing and transformative conversation. One additional announcement, I don't want to get in trouble. Councilwoman Atkins and I are working jointly on what we're calling an Emerson Blitz. We both share a portion of the Emerson neighborhood, the 1st and the 4th districts respectively. And this will be a 2-day event starting on Thursday, August 20th. We're going to do it on Thursday, August 20th, and Councilwoman Atkins will correct me. And it will be from 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock at Art House. And we will have several representatives from the communities, the census, Faith Farms, other information provided from the city. We're going to try to mail out I did get labels as much as we can, information to residents in the Emerson section of the 4th and 1st District. But that will be Thursday, August 20th from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. at Art House. Did I make any errors, Councilwoman Atkins?
Clear.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Mr. President,
Councilman Lay?
I would be remiss if I didn't say something about this bond referendum. I really don't have the time to go against it, nor the resources, but I know a great deal because I was on that fiscal management board as well as having served on the school board. The pastors that are involved, I'm sure they're people of integrity, intelligence, and intuition. I just think they are not in their own bailiwick. They can cut no deal with the emergency manager that has substance. In fact, the DUAB board has given all of its authority over to an executive director, and I sort of forced them to do that in 17. And what they've done is in Senate, I haven't read the bill for some time, but it's House Bill 1315. So what they're doing is moving forward, and they said DUAB voted, but this community has seen absolutely nothing on this referendum. It makes no sense to me that people are supporting something they have not read. They have not did any of the grunt work. None appear to have read Senate Bill 567, nor have they read House Bill 1315. Again, they seem to be offering to carry to the teachers by saying, we're gonna give you a very small raise. MGT was supposed to be out of here by 2022. They already have extended their, as I understand it, 2 years to 2024. When I inquired what was the debt of the Gary Public School System, today Dr. McNulty told me $6 million. That's a budget deficit. That has nothing to do with the question. The budget deficit may be 6 million, down from 22 million, but that's simply by terminating people, using a lot of subs, things of that nature, moving everybody into one building. So I would suggest certainly to the Baptist Conference, and like I say, my pastor, Dwight A. Gardner, is involved, so he's a person of integrity as well as my friend. I think they should do more of the grunt work, certainly between now and November, before they recommend to this community to do something. I think under Senate Bill 567, the State Board of Finance certainly could help. They should match this city. If they want us to do a bond issue for 64 million, they should forgive the debt that exists. It was predatory lending of 64 million. So I think someone now has to do the grunt work and just don't say, oh, it's a great idea, and participate in it. Thank you, Mr. President. I'm sorry, I should have said that initially.
All right, thank you, Councilman Lay. Any other members for special and select?
Mr. President,
Councilman Brewer?
just want to say this very quickly. I also want to just acknowledge the hard work that men and women continue to do inside of whether it's general service, code enforcement. They do an excellent job with what they have to work with. And I'm just reminded on, you know, if the people don't change the mindset, I don't care how hard either one of them teams work, the city will continue to stay the same. It takes people to come together to work to make our city change, not just two different departments or administration. It takes people inside this great community to make it better. But thank you, Mr. President. I want to acknowledge that.
Thank you, Councilman Brewer. Any other members for special and select? All right. This time we'll have council pending ordinances and resolutions on third and final reading.
CPO 2020-30. An ordinance of the Gary Common Council creating the City of Gary Youth Council, sponsored by Linda Barnes Caldwell, Councilwoman of the 5th District.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Councilwoman Barnes Caldwell. I think you're muted.
Okay. We would like CPO 2020-30 to be tabled at this time.
Is a motion to table CPO 2020-30. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
It's been moved and properly seconded by Councilwoman Brown. Any questions or discussion?
Yes, I have a question.
Councilman Lay is recognized.
I believe 2020-30 needs some type of corrections. You can't make any correction on the table. It would have to be in a committee to make any correction. This bill is this ordinance is in very poor shape at this time. If it goes back to committee, I certainly will make a recommendation to show the council how they can do this program. You have the funds in several places. You certainly, and the person that I think would be excellent for the program is Reverend Dwight Pointer, assuming he would take it. His background and what he's done most of his life fits that. But laying it on the table, which that's the most misused motion is made. Why is it on the table? What's going to happen? That means you got to do something to bring it off of the table. But if it's there, what are we going to do? I'm confused why that motion is used. Lay it on the table.
We discussed it last week, and the changes that we talked about last week, the attorney hasn't completed them yet. So once this is completed, it'll be presented to the council.
Why wouldn't you put it in the committee? I mean, if it's being worked on, I mean, that's all I'm suggesting. It would go to the committee, and that's when it would be presented to the council. It has to be in committee form. That's how government runs itself, through committees.
It's been to committee twice.
We need the time to get some information together. That's why it's being done this way.
Well, you can put it in committee and get time, but go ahead. You're misusing the motion lay on the table. I assure you that. You, the parliamentarian, is being misused.
Attorney Williams, I know we've talked about this some months ago about the differences of sending it to committee or putting it on the table. And there's certain consequences about it. For some of these motions, how soon you can bring them back. I think there's one, you may have to wait 6 months or a year or something like that. You may know what I'm referring to. Can you there was something, some particular motion that would delay how soon you could bring something back. I'm not saying it's this one, but I think it'd be a good point of information for us all to understand.
Well, I'm not sure what you're speaking of. I think what the last time I spoke with you all is something is defeated. It requires a year before it can be brought back.
Okay.
But the motion that Councilwoman Caldwell presented is correct, and it's absolutely her prerogative to do so. It also can be sent back to the committee. Neither is improper, in my opinion.
All right. Thank you, Attorney Williams. Any other questions or discussion? Seeing and hearing none, roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Atkins,
Yes.
Councilman Brewer,
Yes.
Councilwoman Brown,
Yes.
Councilwoman Caldwell,
Yes.
Councilman Lay,
No.
Councilman Weatherspoon,
Yes.
Councilman Williams, Councilman Williams,
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes.
President Godwin.
Yes.
Mr. President, vote is 7 yes, 1 no.
With 7 yeas and 1 nay, CPO 2020-30 is tabled.
CPO 2020-37, an ordinance amending Title 15 entitled Land Usage, Chapter 123 entitled Zoning Code of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Gary, Indiana. Petitioner Payday Group Check and Real Estate Incorporated, 5700 Melton Road, Gary, Indiana. Property at 617 West Ridge Road, Gary, Indiana.
Councilman Brewer.
Mr. President, I move for passage of CPO 2020-37 on third and final.
Second.
Been moved and properly seconded by Councilwoman Burns Caldwell. We have the overview at this time.
I believe Mr. Radke is with us and he will do the overview.
Mr. Radke? I see he's on. Looks like he is muted.
Yes.
Do we know if someone, okay,
He's unmuted.
all right. Mr. Radke? You need to unmute yourself. There we go.
This is Gary Radke.
Yes, so at this time, Councilman Brewer has requested that you provide the overview for the ordinance.
Yes, this project started last year. We proposed a building of 3,400 square feet. The owner then purchased land to the east of the property and decided to double the size of the building to 6,375 feet. He purchased a lot or two lots that are zoned residential. On both sides of that property is zoned business B2, which on the west side he owns all the property, and on the east side is the city owns property and another lot, but it's zoned. So this is the only small parcel of land abutting the Ridge Road that is zoned residential. It's R5, it's not R1. So we're looking at constructing a larger building onto that site, and we'd like to see if we can get it rezoned to construct this building. The building will be housed for the M&M Beauty Supply. The present building which supplies that building is located to the west, and that building first floor will be used for another business for the owner. If there's any questions, I'd be welcome to answer.
Thank you, Mr. Radke. Any questions from council members? Okay. I don't see here anyone that has any questions. At this time, roll call.
Councilwoman Atkins,
Yes.
Councilman Brewer,
Yes.
Councilwoman Brown,
Yes.
Councilwoman Caldwell,
No.
Councilman Lay,
Yes.
Councilman Weatherspoon,
Yes.
Councilman Williams,
Yes.
and President Godwin.
Yes.
Mr. President, vote is 7 yes, 1 no.
With 7 yeas and 1 nay, CPO 2020-37 passes and is so ordered.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
CPO 2020-39, an amendment to the Community Benefits Agreement Ordinance, sponsored by Cloris Lay, Councilman Large, Mayor Tom Prince, City of Gary.
Mr. President,
Councilman Brewer.
I'll move that CPO 2020-39 be deferred back to committee August the 11th at 5:30 p.m.
Is there a second? It's been moved and properly seconded by, I think that was Councilwoman Barnes Caldwell. Any questions or discussion?
Mr. President,
Councilman Lay is recognized.
several questions. With great enthusiasm, you read the letter on the 28th of July from Mr. James Dillon, the attorney, wherein that letter, he indicated that the IRS, he talked to the IRS on the 28th of July, and they had informed him that they had decided that this committee had been, determined to be 501c3 on February the 4th. He also, at the end of his letter, I was talking about formalizing 501c4. He said it was an active not-for-profit. That certainly did not answer the question. I guess yesterday I received a communication from Ms. McCready, which indicated that on January 2020, they in fact granted this 501c4. I believe this letter was sent out in error. I have did the grunt work by talking to the Internal Revenue Service. They will be sending us, sending me at least, a 742 letter. But let's look at something that's very odd about this letter that was received. On her memo, she says she received a letter from the IRS. Am I on?
Yes.
Okay, all of a sudden my screen is, I can't tell, but it don't matter. On August the 3rd, she sent out a communication saying she received a letter from the IRS on April the 1st. But if you take a look at the letter she sent us, it's dated, August the 1st. It's dated August the 4th. The IRS does not post date letters when they send them out. You usually have to respond. You have so many days in which to respond. Again, I do not believe they've ever formalized the 501c4. But even if they had, the same issues I've raised continuously, one, it's a private organization. And what I mean by private, she is the only one on the incorporation papers. Even when Mr. Dillon's name appear, sometime he's the interim attorney, whatever that is. Sometime he appears he might be the incorporator, but in fact, she is the registered agent or appears to be the agent. So therefore, you're always dealing with one person. The committee is not there. If something happened to Ms. McCready, I assume this perpetual corporation would cease. Again, I've already mentioned the membership, that this list that she gave us of 16 people are not there. It's set up principally for lobbying. It's not under the Indiana open door law. It's making decisions for the fourth district. Now, I did talk to Mr. Evans and I said, she appointed all of these people. He again seemed to be offended by the word these people, but I believe he should understand the problem is when a non-African-American speaks to an African-American and they say, you people, that's what offends. Should be offensive, not these people. But again, everybody can be defended by whatever they hear. She also talks about the union. Again, that's her confusion. The problem is not the lack of training of African-Americans, it's your inability to get in an apprenticeship program. I don't care where you train them. We started trying to do this 52 years ago under the former, the late Mayor Hatcher. We set up unions. We set up so they could be it. It simply ended with them. So the other question has come up that this committee, when I suggested to the mayor, the chief executive of the city, not at least have 3 appointments. And I'm not a drum major for Mayor Prince. I mean, he knew that on his own. But if we're not willing to give the chief executive input, Mr. Brewers thinks it's inconsistent for me to tell the council, take the page and why not take everything else? I think we should have him there. There will be times we certainly can come directly to him. He certainly has veto power. I assume we would probably override the veto. Again, look at the documents. People are going to have to read the document they're receiving. And these documents lays out everything I'm talking about. So we will get or at least I will get a 742 letter. They will only answer so many questions. And I've asked it 5 different ways, but it's been very easy for them to say they had formalized the 501c4. So she was in a hurry to fax something. You seem to have a relationship, Mr. Chairman or Mr. President. Tell her to fax me the 1024 form, a completed 1024. And maybe that will change my opinion as to what has been done with this corporation. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sorry I took so much time.
All right, thank you, Councilman Lay. I'm sure in committee we'll have an opportunity to discuss this at length. Any other
I'd like the 1024 before we go to committee, though.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, Chairman Brewer, you can make that request of the CBA group.
Mr. President, well, I'll do it at the end, talk about the CBA. I'll talk about it at the end. We got a motion on the floor.
Any other questions, discussion about the motion on the floor? Seeing and hearing none, roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Atkins. Councilwoman Atkins.
Yes.
Councilman Brewer.
Yes.
Councilwoman Brown.
Yes.
Councilwoman Caldwell.
Yes.
Councilman Lay.
Yes.
Councilman Weatherspoon.
Yes.
Councilman Williams.
Yes.
And President Godwin.
Yes.
Mr. President, the vote is 8-0.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. With a vote of 8-0, CPO 2020-39 is referred back to committee. Meeting on August 11th at 5:30 p.m.
CPR 2020-08, a resolution by the Gary Common Council calling on Indiana Governor Eric J. Holcomb to initiate a more robust and compassionate program for the early release of nonviolent incarcerated persons most vulnerable to the COVID-19 pandemic. Sponsored by Cozy Weatherspoon, Councilman of the 2nd District, Dwight Williams, Councilman of the 6th District.
Mr. President,
Councilman Williams.
move for passage of CPR 2020-8.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded by Councilwoman Barnes Caldwell. Any questions or discussion? Actually, overview at this time. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mr. President. Resolution 2020-8. It's a resolution requesting of the Honorable Governor Holcomb to again show a robust and a more compassionate means of dealing with inmates, those that are incarcerated, and particularly those that are 65 years of age, that are very close to their sentences being ending. Those, of course, with compromised systems, and those of that nature. As many of you all know, well, as everyone knows for that matter, this COVID thing is getting worse and worse. And two of the most affected places, of course, are nursing homes and prisons. The interesting thing about the prisons, and I put up some statistics about it I would like to share with you. Presently, there are over 42,000 inmates in the system here across the state of Indiana. And that includes a network of 92 jails, 18 prisons, and more importantly, a staff of close to 7,000 employees. These individuals are affected by the COVID because of the overcrowding, because of the conditions that exist within that prison. And they have an effect also on us in the outside of the community, outside of the prison walls themselves here in the communities. Because those people, they come home, and particularly the employees, they come home to their families. They spread whatever ailments or whatever COVID that they may come in contact with family members, friends, those that they come in contact with, and just the general public. Also, the same thing with those that are in and out of the criminal justice system as well. So we're simply asking the governor to simply, be a little bit more compassionate to those individuals that are 65 years of age and older, those individuals that are close to, completing their sentence within 12 to 15 months, and, non-violent offenders. So I'm humbly asking the council to consider passage of this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Weatherspoon. Any questions or discussion about the resolution? All right, seeing and hearing none, roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Atkins.
Yes.
Councilman Brewer.
Yes.
Councilwoman Brown.
Yes.
Councilwoman Caldwell.
Yes.
Councilman Lay.
Yes.
Councilman Weatherspoon.
Yes.
Councilman Williams.
Yes.
And President Godwin.
Yes.
Mr. President, the vote is 8-0.
With a vote of 8-0, CPR 2020-08 passes and is so ordered.
CPR 2020-09, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of Gary regarding climate resilience and recovery, sponsored by Mayor Jerome Prince, City of Gary.
Mr. President,
Councilman Brewer.
move for passage of CPR 2020-09.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded by Councilwoman Barnes Caldwell. We'll have the overview at this time.
Ms. Brenda Scott Henry going to do the overview at this time.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
And thank you for allowing me to do the overview for CPR 2020-09. This is a resolution. Well, the city of Gary has been working toward this effort for over 3 years now. We've come to a point where we're ready to present the resolution to get leadership support, as well as establish a sustainability advisory committee board, so that they can help us to develop a climate action plan for the city of Gary. Cities across the United States, like Gary, has been working on this effort, and we've been working with key stakeholders, including Indiana University, to provide us technical assistance to get through the process. We completed our greenhouse gas inventory in 2019, both for the community and local government. Now we're ready to establish some carbon emission targets so that we can reduce our impact on the environment. And when I said we are establishing carbon emission reduction targets, we're talking about things like the use of clean energy, creating walkable neighborhoods, improving public transit, using green infrastructure for native landscaping so that we can reduce heat islands, using trees so that we can reduce our improve air pollution for public health, establishing usable green spaces, solar energy, clean energy for vehicles. So those are some of the examples of activities that we can establish goals for so that we can improve the health of our environment and reduce our carbon footprint. The resolution is proposing that we complete our climate action plan or resilient plan by 2021. So that concludes my overview. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to respond.
Any questions of council members? I would just quickly ask, to what extent has industry been engaged in these efforts? I know we have a lot of large manufacturing entities, many of which I'm sure do their fair share of polluting and affect the climate. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yes, actually, we've done surveys with those businesses. So we work with NIPSCO, we work with U.S. Steel. Our externs visit those sites, and they were a part of our planning committee activities when we did the greenhouse gas inventory. The only area that we have not received data from is INDOT. So we know that we are like the crossroads of America, so Indiana is. And so there are lots of transportation that is traveling through our city that contribute to the poor air quality. So through this planning process, though, we should be able to, by having a larger group of people that are helping us to establish these reduction targets, we will be able to receive that information from transportation so that we can establish goals there as well.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I have a question.
Councilwoman Brown?
When you start to talk about poor air quality, and we talk about emissions on automobiles, does this have anything to do with the fact that automobiles have to go for emissions tests periodically? I mean, is this a part of that as well?
So that's a regional effort. So Gary, Lake County and Porter County are considered non-attainment areas, meaning that they haven't reached a target of having, well, we have poor air quality. And because we do, we are probably there are only a few counties in the state of Indiana that have to do the vehicle emissions.
Right.
So as we establish a clean action plan where a climate action plan where we're trying to establish targets, we will recommend things like using clean energy, like compressed natural gas, solar vehicle, electric vehicles, that is, So those are some things that help reduce our impact on the environment. There's also public transit. So right now we have public transit. I think they're working toward getting some electric buses. That will help to reduce carbon emissions into the air. So we have to do things. We have to change our behaviors in terms of protecting the environment. So,
Thank you.
but until we become non-attainment, I don't know when we will get that designation, but we hope that our behaviors as citizens in Lake County will help us move toward that goal of not having to do emissions.
Emissions test. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Brown. Any other members have questions?
One question, Mr. President. I see a lot of advertisement now about solar inside the city of Gary, and they're using a lot of different things marketing the city of Gary. Is that an initiative that the city is in partnership with someone that's working to convert homes over to solar?
Oh, so we have had some programming before. We had a Solarize Gary program some time ago, but at that time, solar wasn't as present in the market as it is today, or affordable as it was before. The city of Gary has created a process where we were trying to streamline the permitting process for solar energy. The cost was just cost prohibitive for residents. So they would rather, so if they're gonna spend about $10,000 to $12,000 to get solar, they would rather do some home improvement than get solar. So there are some energy efficiency things that individuals can do at their home, like new windows, doors, weather stripping their home, that will help reduce their energy consumptions rather than put a solar on their roof. Those times are changing because solar is becoming more affordable. So we would like to go back and see, can we identify a program that will work for the citizens of Gary? So yes, your answer.
And we will be working on the permitting for that also too, to make it more.
Oh yeah, we will streamline the permitting process so it's not difficult for people to get approved to move forward with solar. A lot of time your costs get caught up in that permitting process.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, that's a great question. I know our state is not as tax friendly in terms of the benefits that some other states offer to homeowners who want to do the solar panels on their home. That's definitely good to hear.
But that's changing. NIPSCO, the Indiana Utility Regulatory Commission, is working with NIPSCO, and even NIPSCO has a clean energy initiative where they plan to convert at least like 2,300 megawatts of clean solar by 2023. So that's excellent. They used to allow 1 megawatt a year. Now they're talking about 2,300 megawatts of energy they're trying to achieve by 2023, and that's not far from now.
That's fantastic to hear. On another note, I do have a question later about the rain barrel program that I know we have going on, but I won't belabor it now.
Okay. All right, thank you.
All right. Any other questions? Seeing and hearing none, roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Atkins.
Yes.
Councilman Brewer.
Yes.
Councilwoman Brown.
Yes.
Councilwoman Caldwell.
Yes.
Councilman Lay.
Yes.
Councilman Weatherspoon.
Yes.
Councilman Williams.
Yes.
And President Godwin.
Yes.
Mr. President, vote is 8-0.
With a vote of 8-0, CPR 2020-09 passes and is so ordered.
Mr. President, ends pending ordinances and resolutions on third and final.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. This time we have council pending ordinances and resolutions on second reading.
CPO 2020-41, an ordinance amending chapter 123 entitled Zoning Code of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Gary, Indiana. Petitioner Spectacle Entertainment, LLC, 111 Monument Circle, Suite 777, Indianapolis, Indiana, property at 29th and Jerry Street, Gary, Indiana.
Mr. President, can we do all three of the planning at the same time?
Yes, let's do that.
CPO 2020-42, an ordinance amending Chapter 123 entitled Zoning Code of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Gary, Indiana. Petitioner Spectacle Entertainment, LLC, 111 Monument Circle, Suite 777, Indianapolis, Indiana. Property at 29th and Gary Street, Gary, Indiana. And we have CPR 2020-11, a resolution of the Gary Common Council confirming resolution number 2020-07 that established and designated a certain area of the city of Gary, Indiana as the Broadway Lofts Economic Revitalization Area, to which deductions from excess value may be requested by an applicant to the Common Council of the City of Gary pursuant to Indiana Code 6-1.1-12.1, and that's sponsored by Mayor Jerome Prince, City of Gary, Councilman Ronald Brewer, Councilman at Large, City of Gary, Indiana Redevelopment Commission, and City of Gary, Indiana Office of Community Investment.
Mr. President,
Councilman Brewer.
the Planning and Development Committee has before CPO 2020-41, 42, and CPR 2020-11. We're moving these into the Planning Committee. That's August 11th, 2020 at 5:30 p.m.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Any questions or discussion? Seeing and hearing none, roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Atkins.
Yes.
Councilman Brewer.
Yes.
Councilwoman Brown.
Yes.
Councilwoman Caldwell.
Yes.
Councilman Lay.
Yes.
Councilman Weatherspoon.
Yes.
Councilman Williams.
Yes.
And President Dowell.
Yes.
Mr. President, the vote is 8-0.
With a vote of 8-0, CPO 2020-41, CPO 2020-42, and CPR 2020-11 passed on second reading with a committee meeting to be held on Tuesday, August 11th at 5:30 p.m. via Zoom.
And Mr. President, also in the public hearing is also August.
With a public hearing on August the 18th at 6:00 p.m.
Thank you.
also via Zoom. Thank you.
CPR 2020-10, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of Gary, Indiana, acknowledging the life and contributions of Representative John Lewis, sponsored by Ty Atkins, Councilwoman, 4th District.
Mr.
Councilman
President.
Weatherspoon. Councilman Weatherspoon.
Yes, sir, Mr. President. The Art, Science, and Culture Committee has before it pending resolution CPR 2020-10 for reporting out, with a meeting scheduled for August the 11th at 6:00 p.m.
Second.
Mr. President,
Councilwoman Brown.
can we, on something this important, get it passed on all three readings? Is there any reason to send it to committee?
I think that's what we wanted to do.
Oh,
So,
okay.
do we want to,
Mr. President,
Councilman Brewer?
so the motion needs to be made at this time to suspend the rules and pass on all three readings.
Right.
So, who's
Mr.
making that
President, you
motion?
got to do something with the motion on the floor.
That's right.
They can withdraw
So
the
we need to
motion.
withdraw that motion. So, Councilman Weatherspoon, are you open to withdrawing your motion?
Yes, Councilman, I'm sorry, yes, President Brewer, I'm open to withdrawing CPR 2020-10 at this time.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Any questions or discussion?
You don't need a vote.
You don't need a vote?
No,
Okay.
because the chair never took control. The council never had control of their motion.
Okay.
You,
All right.
now, let me
So-
give you, so you understand, you didn't recite the motion. If you had recited what it was, then we'd have had to take a vote. You didn't do that. They were interrupted before you had an opportunity to do that.
Duly noted.
Okay.
All right. So we're having some good parliamentary procedure lessons tonight. So I'm gonna join that page.
Thank you, Attorney Lay. You're making me earn my money.
I'm sure I'm the weakest person on the council. in this
Oh
area.
no, I'm joining the page program. Councilman, so at this point, we have a motion to hear this on all three readings, to suspend the rules and hear it on all three readings, which requires a unanimous vote of the members present. So who has made that motion, or who is going to make that motion?
Mr. President, I'll make the motion.
All right.
Mr. President,
Go ahead.
I move that the ordinance CPR 2000, I lost my place. CPR
2011.
Yes, be passed on all three readings.
Second.
Been moved and properly seconded. Any questions or discussion?
I just one question. What will we do with this motion? It's going to be sent somewhere? This resolution, I'm sorry. It's going to be sent somewhere to his wife, or what's going to happen to it?
I will direct that to Councilwoman Atkins.
I see that we can arrange for that. We'll be working with the NAACP to get the executed copy once legislation is signed, and then we'll do the appropriate mail out so it can be received by his team.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions or discussion? All right. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Atkins,
Yes.
Councilman Brewer,
Yes.
Councilwoman Brown,
Yes.
Councilwoman Caldwell,
Yes.
Councilman Lay,
Yes.
Councilman Witherspoon,
Yes.
Councilman Williams,
Yes.
and President Godwin.
Yes.
Mr. President, vote is 8-0.
With a vote of 8-0, we have agreed to hear CPR 2020-11 on all three readings. At this point, we would need a 2/3 majority vote to actually pass CPR 2020-11. I believe we have an overview.
I can give an overview if you want me to.
Let's do that.
Okay. So CPR 2020-10 is a resolution of the Gary Common Council to acknowledge the life and contributions of Representative John Lewis. So when we talk about Representative John Lewis, the main common theme that we've heard over the last couple of weeks was unbreakable perseverance. He's been known as a mentor who has spent the majority of his life not only advocating for democracy, but also fighting for the true freedom of his people. Another note that this particular resolution speaks to is his age at what he started his fight for freedom, as well as his age when he got interested in leading from a legislative perspective. I think it resonates with some of the current issues we have within our legislative body, as we are currently trying to advocate for youth involvement within our city. So, this particular resolution details that, and I think it also speaks to our need to ensure that we come together as a body to create something sustaining that initiates the ability to lift these young people as we climb within our leadership, and remembrance of what John Lewis did within his life as well. So to give him his due diligence, I'll make sure that I'll read the resolution if that's okay with the council. So the resolution states, whereas the Honorable John Robert Lewis, a representative to the United States House of Representatives and a pioneer in the civil rights movement, died on Friday, July 17, 2020 at the age of 80. Whereas Representative Lewis spent his life fighting for human rights and civil liberties and working to create a more perfect union. Whereas John Lewis was born the son of sharecroppers, attended segregated public schools in a segregated community in which racism and discrimination was rampant. Whereas as a college student inspired by the teachings and preachings of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, John Lewis participated in the sit-in demonstration at the segregated lunch counters in the South, became chair of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, organizing students and grassroots campaigners to bring positive change in the face of injustice. Whereas at the age of 23, he was one of the original freedom riders who risked their lives by riding buses across the South, challenging the nation's segregation laws. Whereas John Lewis helped organize the now historic 1963 March on Washington, in which he addressed the nation as the youngest speaker at the march, and at the time of his death was the last remaining living speaker. Whereas John Lewis courageously led more than 600 peaceful protesters across Edmund Pettus Bridge in Selma, Alabama, where they were confronted by 150 Alabama state troopers and sheriff's deputies, wadding clubs, bull whips, and tear gas, and the brutal encounter which became known as Bloody Sunday. The violence suffered by the civil rights activists, including John Lewis, who suffered a skull fracture, was captured on national television and provoked such an outrage that is credited as the defining event which precipitated the passage of the Voting Rights Act of 1965. Whereas John Lewis was elected to the United States House of Representatives in November 1986 and served for 34 years. Whereas Representative John Lewis lived his life with integrity and honor, setting an example for all Americans with his passionate public service and tireless activism. And whereas the life of John Robert Lewis uniquely embodied the challenges and achievements which at once confronted and inspires all Americans, and in particular, Black Americans. Now, therefore, be resolved by the Gary Common Council that Section 1, Common Council of City of Gary, Indiana, hereby acknowledges the contributions of Honorable Representative John Lewis in the Civil Rights Movement to end legalized racial segregation, and the life of John Lewis embodying the spirit of love and dignity through his unceasing advocacy for reconciliation, justice, and the equality of all mankind. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilwoman Atkins, for reading that and for preparing, sponsoring this resolution. I was honored to meet Congressman Lewis twice, once as an undergraduate at Georgetown, and secondly, in the U.S. Capitol building. It was the Rayburn House Office building. Certainly a distinguished man and very approachable, and someone who was inspiration for multiple generations. And I'm just honored that we're able to do this today, and thank you for leading that effort. Any other questions or discussion related to the resolution? Councilman Brewer and then Councilman Lay.
Mr. President, I think it's an excellent resolution. Only thing I will add, if I'll be added as a co-sponsor to it, I can't speak for the rest of the council, but I think Mr. Lewis is definitely deserving of this. And I will ask that it be distributed to all council members and a copy be put on the wall inside the Clio Western Lounge. That would be my amendment to add to this.
Mr. President, I guess two things. Unless there's an objection, the entire council should be added. It is a council resolution. It makes no sense to piecemeal it. Let me give you a bit of information. In that race in 1986, Mr. Lewis was the underdog. He was not at all favored to win. The person that he was running against was Julian Bond. And CT came to Gary to see CT Vivian with his wife, and he could not believe that John Lewis had beat Julian Bond. And we told him it wasn't hard to believe. And they made several jokes about Mr. Lewis's suits and attire compared to Julian Bond, but I know he was a great man. So, but that's a note that very few people were aware of. He was not the favorite to win that election, and he ran away with it. Matter of fact,
right?
Yeah, he ran away with it.
Absolutely, and I know he also served on the Atlanta City Council prior to that. So, what a distinguished man. And I think we have an amendment or some amendments. Councilman Brewer, can you, if you're willing, rephrase your amendment to add the entire council as a sponsor, as well as to have it placed, framed and placed in the Clio Western Lounge? Is that what I think you were saying?
Yes, sir. That is the amendment. I didn't want to speak for the entire council, but if that's the pleasure of the entire council to be added, that is definitely my motion at this time.
Well, I'll second that. I'll second that.
Thank you. It's been moved and properly seconded by Councilwoman Brown that the stated amendment be added to this resolution. Any questions or discussion? Seeing and hearing none, roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Atkins,
Yes.
Councilman Brewer,
Yes.
Councilwoman Brown,
Yes.
Councilwoman Caldwell,
Yes.
Councilman Lay,
Yes.
Councilman Weatherspoon,
Yes.
Councilman Williams,
Yes.
and President Dowling.
Yes.
Mr. President, vote is 8-0.
With a vote of 8-0, CPR 2020-10 is amended as aforementioned. At this point, we already have a motion and a second to pass the resolution. Do we need a separate one to pass it as amended? Or is that not required?
The chair can proceed without that if it so desires. If
Thank
no
you.
one objects, you can go. You can bypass.
Thank you. So, is this Attorney Williams? Okay. So-
Yeah, that was, but Attorney Lay is doing a great job for me today. I'll let him proceed.
Well, no, again, it's never my intent to at all take your job or advise the council. They're way beyond me and things that I say. I'm just used to talking, that's all. I don't have to make sense. I just talk.
I appreciate you, Councilman Lay. I know you often, because of your particular skill set, get called on the carpet, but we make a great tag team. So at this point, we already have a motion and it's been seconded. I believe we can have a vote on CPR 2020-10 as amended. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Atkins,
Yes.
Councilman Brewer,
Yes.
Councilwoman Brown,
Yes.
Councilwoman Caldwell,
Yes.
Councilman Lay,
Yes.
Councilman Weatherspoon,
Yes.
Councilman Williams,
Yes.
and President Dowling.
Yes.
Mr. President, the vote is 8-0.
With a vote of 8-0, CPR 2020-10 as amended passes and is so ordered.
Mr. President, I would suggest we also send, along with what Councilwoman Ty has done, send the actual resolution itself, the voting, send that with it. Wherever it's going, I'm a little unclear where it's going, but I would send that because that would contain certainly your signature and the signature of the mayor. I assume if he vetoed it, we'd override it, so it wouldn't matter.
I agree. We'll make sure that happens. Councilwoman Atkins, take the lead.
Yes.
All right.
Right on top of that.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Mr. President, is pending ordinance and resolutions on second reading.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Mr. President,
Councilman Brewer.
before you move further, I just want to go back. I want to have a working session to discuss the CBA, in its current state, next Monday, August the 10th. That'll be Monday at 5 p.m. There'll be a working session to discuss the CBA in its current state.
Is that the ordinance you're talking about discussing, the ordinance itself? Or is
No.
that before the amendment?
That's before the amendment.
Okay, so I don't need to be present. You want to go back and discuss it before it was amended. Okay.
Okay. So just making us an announcement. So we'll make sure that is publicized.
So do we need me to withdraw my amendment at this time so he can go back? I'm not sure. I'm not sure what this working session is.
Your meeting still take place. I want to come inside the Tuesday meeting with a better preparedness with the group that's in place, especially with the CBA. You got a number of people with the CBA, and I'm trying to cut down on the time that we will spend in the meeting coming up.
But they're not there. Are you talking about the people on the corporation, or you just talking about people on just talking? They're not on that corporation. I'm sure you've read it, right?
I'm talking about the CBA that's currently formed now. This is the group I'm speaking on.
That's not on the corporation. You do understand they're not on that corporation. Do you understand that?
That's the debate that we're having in committee about. This is what you're asking.
No, you have received the document, Mr. Brewer. All you had to do is read it. It says
I
who's
read
there.
the document, but you presented a document, Ms. McCready had presented a document. I feel we hashed that out inside committee.
No, I'm only presented her document. Apparently you've not read it. I'm talking about her document says there's no members. Her document. I don't have a document.
I'm asking the members of the CBA to meet me next Monday.
Okay, that's why I say you want to meet with the CBA. That's fine. Not
Yeah.
the council, the CBA. Let me ask another question.
It's an open meeting to the council.
I don't want to be in that type of discussion. What about the 1024? Will you get me that by next Monday?
Well, that's a request you put into Ms. McCready, so
I'm asking you.
I'll make that request that you asked for.
Well, right, I would assume that should be, in fact, a condition of your meeting. You're going to have a meeting where you're not going to discuss the 1024? What are you going to discuss? How you feel?
Well, Ms. Lay, you join us and you'll see what we discussed then. I'm not going to go back.
No, and I'm not going to waste my time if I don't have the 1024. Okay.
But this not a committee meeting.
No, that ends it. That ends it. If you don't give me the 1024, I have no reason to come.
Okay.
All right.
Mr. Chair,
Attorney Williams.
I am procedurally perplexed a little. I don't know of the council having the authority to do a working session. That is a tool of the county council in which they've adopted. I don't believe we have such a rule. I think it has to be a committee meeting, and of course it has to be to the public.
Well, I'll do this then. It won't be a committee meeting. It will be a community meeting with the CBA. So it's a community meeting that Councilman Brewer, Councilman at-large is having, discussing the CBA with the CBA.
Now that'll work. That'll work.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Councilman Brewer and Lay and Attorney Williams. And perhaps we might look into modeling what the county has done by creating our own procedures to do study sessions. I think that will be very helpful, not only on this issue, but on a host of issues that we need to look into.
I think so too.
And also,
Because the county council always, when it's budget time, they have study sessions. We've never done it in the past, but I think it's something that is not harmful, and we could do that. We can talk about some things that we probably need to study as a group. And so I think it's a good idea.
I agree, Councilwoman Brown. Councilwoman Atkins?
Yeah, absolutely. I was just going to say, I know other municipalities do have that in place as well. So we should definitely not wait to get whatever's needed so that it can be formal in terms of code. So there's no issues.
Yeah.
Attorney Williams, can I ask you to look into procedurally what we would need to do, whether this would be by ordinance or council rules? To create a framework for that.
Yeah, I'll get the language since we're speaking of the county. No need to create our own. We can duplicate their language, but it would simply require you to amend your own rules and regulations.
Thank you. That would be great. I did want to, and I didn't do it during special and select. There was some discussion, Councilwoman Atkins, about your joining boards and commissions committee. Were you still looking to do that? Or wanted to do that?
I'm going to defer to the chairwoman of that board, but I think we're okay. We're okay.
Okay. I know I saw some communication. I wanted to make sure if that's what we're doing, that I covered it.
I appreciate your acknowledgement of that. But
okay. All right. Thank you very much. At this time, we will have the mayor's report and then questioning of city officials. Is someone from the mayor's office on? I think this is Attorney McCain.
Yes, Councilman Godwin, if you'll give me just one moment. Good evening.
Good evening.
Can you all see me okay?
Yes,
okay.
sir.
Yes.
Good evening. Thank you for this opportunity to speak on behalf of the Prince administration. Our report will be very short. Just want to announce that the mayor will be having his fresh fruit and vegetable giveaway this Saturday, August 8th at 9:30 a.m. at the Genesis Center. The administration took a break in the month of July, but resumed the fresh fruit and vegetable giveaway the first Saturday in August, and that will continue for each Saturday this month. So we welcome Gary residents to come out for the fresh fruit and vegetable giveaway on August 8th at 9:30 a.m. at the Genesis Center. That concludes the mayor's report.
All right, thank you. Questions of city officials at this time? I know we have Attorney McCain, obviously, our corporation counsel is on. I know we had Ms. Brenda Scott Henry, Green Urbanism. Let's see here, Mr. David Stout with the Buildings Commission is on. Buildings Department, Mr. Vicari with the Sanitary District. Any?
Mr. President,
Councilwoman Atkins?
I had a couple of questions. I'm not sure who will be the appropriate member from the administration to address, but I'll just put the questions out. The first question was, I wanted to know if we can get an update on the road work that is being done or currently in the pipeline within the next 3 months around the city. I think Councilman Brewer had asked for it in the past, and I've also had asked for an update on that, and we still have not got a report out. So I would assume that might be Public Works, if we can get some information on that. And then I also had a question, again, this might be for Public Works. I know that the administration had recently implemented the Clean Slate program with the GO team. So again, as council members know, 90% of the calls that we receive from constituents is regarding cleanups or dumping, et cetera. So I wanted to know if we can get information as a council in terms of what their current plan is, if they have targeted areas, so that we can then let constituents know what their forecast strategy is, if they will be in a certain area within the next couple of weeks, and also if they can let us know what they have done in areas as well. That would be great. And the last one is for GSD. In the 4th district, specifically in the Midtown area on the east side, I've noticed that we've had a number of sanitary workers in the alleyway. So they can just let us know again what work is being done and when is the tentative completion date for that. So that's 3.
Okay. Very good, Councilwoman Atkins. The administration will prepare answers to your questions and report out at the next meeting.
Okay, thank you, Attorney McCain.
Thank you.
Here I go again. Here I go again.
Councilwoman Brown?
Here I go again with these lots. I don't know, maybe I get an inordinate amount of calls regarding overgrown lots, bushes and bushes that are covering stop signs, and I don't know if some of these kids are going to go back to school or not, but whomever is attempting to walk down the streets, the stop signs are covered. The cars can't see them. The kids can't see them. And so there needs to be something done. And I don't know what it is we're going to do, but we need to do something.
I couldn't agree more with you, Councilwoman Brown. One of the things that I've been charged with in the new administration is to revamp our use of the unsafe building law. Mm-hmm. As you will recall, one of the mayor's very first initiatives was to use the unsafe building law to have these old abandoned school buildings torn down. Mm-hmm. And that arguably led to $25 million in legislation for the tearing down of these buildings as well as the upkeep of others. One part of the unsafe building law that is underutilized or has been underutilized is that also included in that statute is called unsafe premises. And that unsafe premises can be described as overgrown vegetation, a public nuisance, a public health hazard. So it doesn't necessarily have to have a structure on it in order for it to be deemed unsafe premises. So that is the charge of my department, to identify these properties that are overgrown, and if they belong to a property owner, to initiate the unsafe premises actions where they all have to be held to account through an administrative law process. And if the city has to abate those issues, then we will issue a special assessment on those properties so that the homeowner or property owner rather has to pay for it when they pay for their taxes, if they ever pay for their taxes. So I invite you, Councilwoman Brown, I will communicate with you after the meeting is over. I'll give you my personal number and you can identify these overgrown lots, and I'll make sure that we address those through this statute with the unsafe premises.
Thank you very much.
My
Appreciate
pleasure.
that.
Attorney McCain, let me tap into that. I can send you a spreadsheet as soon as we get off the call.
That's what we're here for. That's what we're here for. So, Councilwoman Atkins, I believe you have my number. You can give me a call or send me a text identifying these parcels. Once we go out and identify them, we look them up on the GIS, find out who the owner of record is, and then we start the process there.
Excellent. Councilman Brewer?
Thank you, Mr. President. Attorney McCain, I have two questions and get a follow-up probably at the next council meeting. But years ago, we passed an ordinance on the council where if a house or a business caught on fire and had insurance, we can hold 10% of the insurance payout until they deem if they're going to repair the home or if the home is going to be torn down. If you can get us an update on where we are at with how many claims that we do have inside or how much funds that we are holding, because there are several structures that have caught on fire. And I don't know if they have head insurance or not, but if you can give me or give us an update on that, so that way we can possibly get some of these structures taken down, because I know we was able to get one of the former funeral homes that caught on fire taken down in a matter of probably within less than a year, I would say, taken down with that policy being in place there, and several homes also. But it seems like we have come to a stalemate on that also. And also in the Marshalltown area and a little bit on the east side, I received several phone calls, and I've been to several homes in the Marshalltown area where the residents are just infested pretty much with the mosquitoes, where you can't even come outside. They're fighting to get in, fighting to get out, where they just seem like they've been attacked over there. And I haven't seen that in any other part of the city that bad, like I've seen it in that area there. Can you find out if we are doing any type of spraying from the health department? Because I know we have done it years ago, where every year we have been spraying from the health department. If we are spraying this year for mosquitoes, but I'm receiving a tremendous amount of calls inside the Marshalltown area in particular about the mosquitoes.
Okay, thank you, Councilman Brewer. I will look into both of those issues and report back to the council. I have learned that as far as the mosquitoes are concerned, wherever we see abandoned tires, mosquitoes will follow, because the water is able to stay stagnant in those tires, and then we have water. Part of that unsafe premises description that I just talked about would be tires on the left on the property. It is a public health hazard, and I will contact Dr. Walker at the health department and give you some information on that.
Thank you, but I do believe that's over in that area, the little Calumet, I believe they use that to dump the excess water from rain over that way. And they have a tremendous number of flooding in that area, but definitely it's coming from mosquitoes also too.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. I have a few questions. One of which I'll start with Ms. Brenda Scott Henry about the rain barrel program. Can you say, I know I saw an announcement a while back about that, and I have a lot of folks in my district who want to do their part, and I'm sure throughout the city, in preserving energy. Could you say something about the rain barrel program and how that works?
So we have rain barrels that we purchased working with a vendor who recycle food grade 55-gallon barrels. He retrofit those barrels and turned them into rain barrels so that we can promote clean water. So we are asking residents to purchase rain barrels, which is a 55-gallon barrel, which is a way to use that water for watering your gardens, your plants. So the cost of the barrels are $55. The kit includes a rain barrel, 55-gallon rain barrel, a stand for the rain barrel, and the connector kit to your gutter system. They can contact the residents can contact our office at 219-882-3000 and ask for Ashley Overton, and she will assist you with purchasing a rain barrel.
Excellent. Thank you. I have a question. Earlier this year, we passed an amendment to an ordinance related. This is for Attorney McCain, my first district corporation counsel. We passed a amendment to an ordinance around the gas stations and the public restrooms, and a critical part of that, and I know the building commissioner, Mr. Stoff, is on, was making sure that we notify the 53 gas stations that are in our city. And I wanted to follow up on that. We thought it would be appropriate that the notice would come from the Corporation Counsel's office, making them aware of that requirement, so that when we get to next year and we're implementing it, they can't say they did not know. So I just wanted to follow up on that. And then I wanted to ask about the state of the city. As we move into budget season, and we're all working on our numbers in our various departments, I'm sure, I think it's important that we get a date on the books. We're now in August for the state of the city, whether that'll be virtual or however. And lastly, I wanted to follow up. I know we had an email communication about the beach closure, and obviously the closing of the public park, Marquette Park, as well as Lake Street Beach and Marquette Beach, and the closing of the roadway certainly impacts my district pretty strongly. And I have had several conversations with the mayor about it. I just didn't understand how we were able to legally do this through a press release. And our neighbors to the east, as I indicated in my letter, have shown us how it is to be done in accordance with IC 10-14-329. I don't think that the health commissioner singularly has the power to do what has been done, and certainly to issue any kind of penalties. And so in my mind, what I perceive to be an order, given it was on the mayor's letterhead, expires tomorrow night, because those cannot last for longer than 7 days without the consent of the council, which is why when the mayor of Michigan City closed Washington Park by order on July 23rd, he had to come before the Michigan City Common Council on July 30th to seek their consent to extend it for a longer period. I think that is the proper statute that should be followed. I understand the emergency, the issue, the concerns, but this body has a role to play. And I think it's important that it be allowed to function as it is statutorily designated to function. And I'm hopeful that we can find a way to cut down on the traffic and the population by simply closing the parking lots and allowing homeowners, residents to use the public beach responsibly by simply walking on it, walking to it. It's not illegal to walk down Oak Avenue in a group. I don't know why it would be illegal to walk down the beach. We know that many folks have kids that are at home. There's nowhere for them to go. There's nothing to do. And being able to go to the beach has psychic, mental benefits for a lot of folks. And certainly we live in a beach community. And that is part and parcel of the whole notion of living in a beach community. I will note that the executive order in Michigan City that was extended by their council last Thursday excluded the residential areas that the beach covers and limited the order to Washington Park. I'm hopeful that whenever this order expires, we can be more sensible and balanced in our approach while also, of course, encouraging public safety. That was a whole lot, and I'm sure you may have a lot to say about that. Thank you.
All right, thank you. My department will get those notices out to the gas stations regarding the change in the ordinance, the amendment in the ordinance regarding the requirements for the bathrooms. I will also check with the mayor regarding a state of the city date. Currently, the mayor has not decided on a date yet because we are still working very fervently on getting the financial information that we need in order to be able to intelligently report the state of the city. Regarding the beach closings, the difference between Michigan City and the city of Gary is simply the Michigan City does not have a health department like the city of Gary does, as well as the city of East Chicago. The city's ordinance allows the health commissioner to quarantine and to make closures that he or she believes is reasonably necessary to prevent the spread of a epidemic or pandemic in this case. I am sensitive to your request, Councilman Godwin, and the mayor is prepared to issue an executive order tomorrow that would be 7 days in length. The statement that was released was not an executive order. It was not filed with the office of the clerk. It was not assigned an executive order number. So it was not an executive order per se. We had some discussions about the nomenclature used to describe that statement, but we are sensitive to the need to have an official executive order that would only last for 7 days under the statute that you quoted. So we will address that no later than tomorrow.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Councilman Lay?
I would suggest to Attorney McCain, send him the actual ordinance on the bathrooms, the service stations. Send him that. Send him the law as it is written and as it's been passed by the council and signed by the mayor, as opposed to an interpretation.
Yes,
Give
sir.
them the law. Let them read it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you're not there. You're not their attorney. Let them read it.
I'm yours.
That's true.
We will-
And yeah, I noticed he took you like Trump took Barr. He said his first district, corporation counsel.
All right.
Yeah.
What can I say? We're privileged to have great leaders of the city who live in the city of Gary and in the first district. So I won't get into district.
I question that sincerely. When we get back to the Tuesday meeting, of course, I will not be in attendance to Mr. Brewer's. I'm not sure what that is, but he's welcome to go ahead with his individual meeting. I'll be there on the 11th. I believe that's the Tuesday. All righty. So,
all right. Thank you, Councilman Lay, and thank you, Attorney McCain. Any other questions, discussions of city officials? Well, I'd like to announce that on this Friday, I should have done this during special and select, but on this Friday, the Gary Common Council will have its, I believe, 4th radio installment on WLTH, and that will go from 9:30 a.m. until 10:30 a.m. Of course, all council members are welcome to come. This is an opportunity for us to share what we've been working on, and also, importantly, to hear from constituents what their concerns are. And that will be this Friday, August 7th, at 9:30 a.m. at WLTH. So please tune in.
Mr. President, a very short announcement.
Councilman Lay?
Okay, Congressman Pete Wiskowski has in fact confirmed that he will participate with this pilot program I'm doing. I will make probably a full report at the next council meeting. I will, if the council so desires to hear it, they may not. The only person I'm waiting for confirmation from is the governor himself. And I feel comfortable he will in fact join in. But it has been presented to him by his chief deputy counsel. So I'd ask him to give it to me on or before August 7th. So hopefully we'll get it. And we do have the books, thanks to Attorney Williams. We do have the books for the for the pilot program. Although I'm having a slight problem because under the current way they're doing stuff, I would have to work for these people. We're trying to clear that up. And I'm not looking for a full-time job with the schools. It's sort of goofy. They don't understand the JD is higher than the master's, but they'll figure it out. They'll figure it out.
Well, I second that truth.
Oh, I know it is. I know it's higher than the master's.
And I'm sure attorneys McCain and Williams would agree, and Walker, who is on. Well, I don't think we have any other business. I want to thank everyone for participating this evening. Continue to be safe and to wear your mask in public facilities. Keep your social distance. We have a lot of events and activities that are still going on. We're trying to reach out to residents and make sure folks are connected and know where their resources are. Always want to remind people that if you have questions or concerns, you can call the council office at 219-881-1315, and that is the vehicle to reach any of us through our assistance. So I want to wish everyone a great evening. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
We stand adjourned in less than 2 hours.